Hi, I'm Jenny Fish from One Big Happy Yarn Company. We want to be your local yarn shop no matter where you live. Welcome back to our Conspiring Brioche Hat knit along. We are using the Manos del Uruguay Felice yarn in the Huarache colorway. In the last episode, we learned our brioche basics. Now we're ready to do the crown shaping and finish this up. If you still need supplies, check out onebighappy.com. Let's get started. So at this point, we have cast on, we have set up for brioche, we've learned how to do brioche round 1 and round 2. We've gone in and showed increases, the rib stitch, which we purl 1, knit 1, decreases, a setup round back to brioche, and you've knit about 8.5 inches into your hat. So now what you need to do is follow the pattern instructions for decreases, but I want to show you how to make the decrease stitch. This is a brioche knit 3 tog. So to get started, I'm going to show you, I'm back on my sample, I've knit up a little bit. I'm using magic loop, but you will be using a 16-inch fixed circular needle. So you'll have all of your stitches in a complete round. You won't have this extra cable here, but this is just my little sample so I can show you how these stitches are worked. Just a reminder, on the brioche, you will have 1 single stitch and then 1 stitch with a wrap. As you are working brioche, you slip the single stitch with a yarn over and you work the 2 stitches together that have the stitch with the wrap. On my sample piece, I'm currently on decrease round 6, which what I wanted to do to show you how to work the decrease stitch. You will follow the pattern instructions as you go along. Okay, so my first stitch on my needle is a purl stitch. I'm going to go ahead and slip that stitch with the yarn in front. My next stitch is a brioche knit. So I bring my working yarn around to wrap that stitch. And then I'm going to knit. And as I knit, it wraps that stitch and around. Now, as you're working your decreases, you may need to move over to like a half magic loop, or you can switch to double pointed needles if you're comfortable with those, but it will start to get tight. So be prepared that you'll need to switch over, either pull your loop through or switch over to double pointed needles because you're going down to fewer stitches. Okay. So then I see a purl stitch here. I'm going to move my yarn to the front. I'm going to slip that stitch. And now my next stitch is the brioche knit 3 tog. Now I'm knitting 3 stitches together. And on my needle here, I have a brioche stitch, a purl stitch, and a brioche stitch. All 3 of these need to be knitted together. So when you do this, you're going to have 5 strands of yarn on your needle when you knit these together. So I have the yarn over and the stitch, the purl stitch, the yarn over and the stitch. All 5 of those are going to be knit together. So you put your needle through, wrap around, and knit those 2 together. So I'm going to show you that again. I have the brioche stitch, the brioche knit stitch, the purl, and the brioche knit stitch. So I have the wrap, the stitch, the purl, the wrap, and the stitch. All of those are going to be knit together. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That is how you do the brioche knit 3 tog. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish up here. This will be the end of round 6 on the pattern. I want to then show you how to do the next round. In all the other rounds, you only do the decrease on the first round of the brioche. Round 2 of brioche is worked normal. So now we have finished the first round of decrease, round 6, and now we're doing the next round, which is going to be the brioche purl round. So our first stitch is the brioche purl. So bring my yarn to the front, and we're going to purl that. And then the next stitch, we're just going to knit like normal. We're not going to do the yarn over. We are working our way back to standard stitches because we're doing the decreases and we don't need all those extra stitches. So the brioche purl, I'm going to knit the purl stitch with its yarn over. I'm going to go back, knit, come back, knit, or purl, pardon me, purl the purl stitch with its yarn over, turning that just back into a purl stitch, and then knit the knit stitch. We'll do this all the way around, and when we're done, it's going to look like standard knitting with a purl 1, knit 1. So if you've decided to go down to magic loop, I know I have a longer cable here. Yours will probably be about to here. This is the setup for magic loop, and then you bring your needle around, and then, whoops, this first one's a purl stitch. Okay, so I'm going to purl these two together and knit. So I want to show you what the decrease looks like as you work those up each round. Here you can see I have 2 ribs of the brioche knit, and they come together right here. And we go up a little further, and we have these 2 that merge here. This is where the decrease is, and this is the brioche knit 3 together comes into play. So they stack on top of each other, and you'll see that throughout every time. Like here's some right here. So every time it tells you to do one of those decreases, that's what they look like, and they stack up. So you want to be able to look back at your knitting and see to make sure you're staying in pattern. You can just follow that one line right here all the way up and see where those decreases come in. So we'll go ahead and finish this round, and then we'll be ready for the final decrease round. Okay, so to knit 2 together, we just put our needle through 2 stitches, wrap our yarn, whoops, and pull it through. Do this all the way around. And according to the pattern, now this is my sample, so my stitches aren't exactly matching up with the pattern, but when you're done with this, you'll have 10 stitches remaining. So I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around, knitting my 2 together. Oh, I think we might make it. I think we might make it. All right, here we go. This is the last side. And again, if you're using magic loop, you just pull it through and go into magic loop starting position, pull the back needle, and we'll go like this. Be careful to make sure that your yarn doesn't get over your cord so you don't cause an accidental yarn over. And if you're using double pointed needles, you'll need to be really careful every time you switch needles to make sure that the yarn doesn't get wrapped around that needle and cause an accidental yarn over, because that'll add another stitch, and we're trying to decrease here to finish this top of this hat up. Okay, so I've got all those stitches. I'm going to go ahead and get my bent tip tapestry needle and put my yarn through there. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is just weave my needle through all these stitches so I can take them off the needles. And you do that by simply sliding the needle in and slipping the stitch off. Sliding the needle in and slipping the stitch off. And do this all the way around. And on this side. All right. There we go. And you just pull it through to cinch it up. You get this nice little star pattern at the top. And I'm going to weave in my ends. I like to kind of go through a few of those stitches that I just pulled off. Pull my yarn through and then stick it down the center. Turn the hat inside out. My daughter's going to love this. This is going to be a great little beanie for her Ken doll. It's like the perfect size. So cute. Like that. Okay, so we're going to weave in these ends. You can use the duplicate stitch method if you prefer, or a lot of times some people will wrap it around. I'm just going to kind of go through a few of these stitches and wind them through. I like, when I have a center at the top of a hat or something like this, I actually like to kind of just follow those stitches and wrap it around. It doesn't add too much bulk, but it stays in that round pattern. We're going to be putting a pom-pom on the top of our hat, so all of this will be covered up, and this will be on the inside anyway. So it's not that big of a deal. It's just personal preference, however you want to weave in your ends. Okay, so I've got that woven in there pretty good. Let's look at it from this side. Looks pretty good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sew on. These pom-poms have a little snap here. So you have this piece here that you sew onto your hat so you can take your pom-pom off when you want to wash it. I still need to block my hat, but so that I can show you how to attach this pom-pom, I'm going to go ahead and sew this onto my hat, and then we'll block the hat and come back, and then I'll show you how to put the pom-pom on. So I've got my needle and my thread. I've got my snap at the top of my hat. We're going to go ahead and sew this on. I'm going to grab some of the fabric underneath, go through my hole. We're going to go in and out 4 times. Get a good amount on there. We'll go under and over to the next hole. The thread that I'm using today is the white Missouri Star Cotton 50 weight. I actually borrowed it from my sister-in-law right before I got here. I snuck over to her desk. She doesn't know, but she'll be fine. Love you, Jenny. Just so that you guys know, her filming area is really close to mine. And every time I come up here, I feel like that I'm like the little sister that's sneaking into the big sister's bedroom. But I know she doesn't care, and she's excited that I'm here, but it's just that, oh, this is her space, but now it's our space. Okay, I've got my snap sewn on. I'm going to go to the inside, and we'll secure this thread in here, and then I'll show you. Then it'll be the big reveal. Okay, I'm just knotting it a few times just to make sure that that's secure. And then I like to throw in a knot at the end as well. There we go. Then I can clip this thread. And I had a little bit of thread poking out at the top here that I'm going to go ahead and clip too. That's just the tail from where my knot was before. Okay. Now, let's see what this looks like on here. Snap. There we go. Now I also have these cute little labels. And this one is the one I picked, and it said, you better use this. Learning one color brioche took a minute, and I just want to make sure that the person that I'm making this for knows that they better use this. So I chose this funny one. But we have a few others in the collection that have different sayings, and you can find those at onebighappy.com. Again, I'm just going to go ahead and put a knot in. This one has the holes ready for you on the corners so that you can just tack this down. Now I'm tacking it down because I want it to be on the little cuff here of the hat. And let's see, I'm going to go to the back side here to get started. And then pop through here. And this is going to be done like a buttonhole. It's going to be back and forth through these two holes. Do that a couple of times. Ooh, that's hard to see. I got to feel my way through there. I can't see it. There we go. Got it. Okay. I'm going to make sure that it's even, like I have even spacing. Make sure I'm not distorting my fabric as I lay it down. And then, there we go. I've got my finger back there right where that hole is so I can keep up with it. And this label is a faux leather, so it's totally fine to go ahead and wash it. Okay. Running out of thread here. I'm going to go ahead and tie this off here. You get the idea here. Go ahead and finish sewing on your label, and then we'll be ready to block. Okay, we have finished our hat. We've added the pom-pom. We've added our little tag here. Now we need to block it. We need to give those stitches a bath, let them relax, and then we can shape it. So now we are going to soak it in water, room temperature, with a little bit of wool wash in there. You'll want to soak yours for about 30 minutes. What that does is it allows the air that's between the fibers to come out and let the water soak in, really letting those fibers relax. Now, we don't want to twist this to get the water out because we don't want these fibers to felt. So we just want to kind of press down, get that in there, get it all saturated. Then when we pick up, we just want to squeeze. And we'll squeeze out as much of the water as we can. Then I've got a towel here. And what I'll do is I'll just lay it out on the towel. And then we'll roll it up in the towel. And this towel is here because it's going to wick out that extra water without agitating the fibers. Okay, let's go ahead and unroll this. Now this yarn, and using the brioche stitch as well, may come up a little bit looser, and that's okay. It will go back to its shape. What I would recommend is to lie flat to dry. So what we'll do is lay it on a table. Let's flip it over to this side so you can see the label. Lay it down there. Get it, fuss with it a little bit. Get it where you want it, what looks even, so the stitches are nice and spread out. And don't be shocked, this yarn does grow a little bit, but like I said, when it dries, it'll come back. And there you go. You should be super proud of yourself. You have learned a new technique, the one color brioche knitting in the round. Remember, you can get a kit with the yarn and printed pattern and the fur pom-pom at onebighappy.com. Be sure to hit the subscribe button below and click the bell to be notified every time we have a new video. Happy knitting!